Hello, everyone. Faith Howard-Mooney, VP of Member Engagement from the Mortgage Collaborative. And this is Inside the TMC family. Today, I have with me one of my favorite people I met in during the pandemic of all crazy things during 2020. And so I am here with Jennifer Miller. She is the Chief People Officer of Panorama Mortgage Group. And Panorama Mortgage Group is the overall arching umbrella of Altera, which many of you may know, as well as other member companies that land under that. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. And I feel like I should get like a badge for being one of the favorite people you met during a pandemic. That'll probably be the best one I ever get. I love it.
It is. It is. We kind of did some fun things
We
during
did.
2020. And I think, as everybody wants right now, after having been home for a long period of time, you're just looking for kindred spirits and people that you can have maybe a little bit of fun with.
Yeah.
So that's how I see you. So thank you for that. So we're going to get started. We have 4 quick questions and then 1 surprise question at the end. So, and I know some things about you, but this is one I don't know. What is your first job that you ever had?
My first job ever, it even makes me giggle a little bit. I was a cashier at Kentucky Fried Chicken back in the day when it was still called Kentucky Fried Chicken. And now, of course, it's KFC. But that was my first job, and wow, was I terrible. I was pretty
That is something I never subjected myself to, is working in a restaurant. And I had lots of friends that did it, but I was really shy back then. I know that's hard to believe, but
it's hard to believe, and I'll tell you, people are pretty aggressive about their fast food. It was actually kind of terrifying, and I only lasted about 5 or 6 months before I went on to my second job.
awesome. Awesome. So, beyond that second job, although maybe that second job was the one that you got, how did you get into this industry, and how long have you been in mortgage?
Wow, it's a great question. I'm relatively new entrant to mortgage. I will have my 3rd year anniversary at Panorama, originally Altera, on March 5th, and I actually was connected through a recruiting agency who they were looking for someone to head the HR team. And a friend of mine recommended me to this recruiter. And I remember, I went through a whole lot of interviews. And I remember very specifically all of my interviews with Jason as well. And they really put me through my paces. And so that's how I was introduced to Altera at the time.
Wow. So you are kind of a newbie, but now that you're in, like all the rest of us, you'll be hanging out and staying even if you wanted to leave. It kind of gets in your blood a little bit.
I'm in the club, I think.
Perfect. What's the one thing that you wish that you would have known when you started your career?
So another thing that makes me laugh a little bit is when I first joined Altera, and when I think about joining my career in mortgage. My first week in, I went to the then CFO and I asked, what's a basis point? So I wish I had been a little bit more savvy about some foundational things in the industry, although I think I'm a quick learner, so I picked it up. But what I learned, and I think it's always great to learn quickly, is how to be quick on your feet, right? How to learn quickly, how to move quickly, how to get questions answered quickly, so that you can kind of get on board. And I think I did that pretty well, from somebody who went from on day 2, what's a basis point, to where I am today. I think I made some progress.
I think you did really well. I think you've done really well. I would have never guessed that you'd only been, in for a few years. So, um, kind of, heading back in the direction of, so you're the chief people officer. If you weren't doing that in the mortgage industry right now, what profession would you choose to be in?
Wow, that's let me think about this. So when I'm sitting back with my cocktail, what am I thinking about doing differently? I think sometimes about, so one of my great interests is actually is leadership coaching, and it kind of doesn't matter what industry you're in. We do some of that in the space at Panorama. So I think if I were gonna, sometimes I imagine what would that be like to do that all day long every day. So that might be something. I also think about sometimes, running some very cool social enterprise, which I'm kind of already in, right? So this is already a very cool, social enterprise when we think about getting people homes and getting them, building wealth through home ownership. But those are the kind of things that cross my mind from time to time when I'm kicking back with my imagination with a cocktail.
I was going to say, totally seen you do that. And speaking of cocktails, you led me into like the fifth question, like
That's
no better segue that I could have. What are your three favorite drinks?
Oh, wow. So uh, I am probably the most boring drinker, but I'm consistent. So I love a good cold beer. I love red wine, preferably Malbec, preferably from, obviously somewhere nice that produces a great wine. And I also, little secret. So I'm so ridiculous. I didn't know until very recently there was such a thing as a Tanqueray gin and tonic in a can. Now, why is that important? Because if you live in the warm climates like where I live, you want to bring that thing to the pool. And most places have rules about bringing glass in and glass where it's the pool. So that was the greatest drink discovery. And I think that's my new favorite thing.
Awesome. I'll have to remember that because I didn't know that one either. I'm a Kettle One gal myself, but but yeah, I didn't know that one either. So that will be a good one to have it kind of in my back pocket.
That's what I learned during the pandemic, in addition to all the
It's a great lesson to learn during this time. That is for sure. Well, I appreciate you and everything that you've done within the network. You've been a great resource very quickly during this crazy busy time for a lot of our human resources professionals. And so we really, really appreciate you here and appreciate your willingness to do this with me.
well, and I appreciate, this group too, and I really encourage, all of us who are working in HR, we're not working in the core function, but what we do, especially now, has a heavier, positive impact than ever before. So I'm always happy to help. And here I am with my Tanqueray and gin. Not right now, but later.
We'll do that cheers sometime soon in person. I'm very hopeful of that.
Thanks a lot, Faith. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you again.
Bye.
Bye.